Hi, hello, and welcome to the second episode of Release. I'm Adriana. I'm so happy and grateful for the way that the first episode was received. I'm so happy for the feedback. I'm glad that I was able to provide some kind of comfort or advice when it seems like people needed it most. And this is kind of what this podcast is teaching me, because as it is Black History Month, happy Black History Month, I was going to talk about being Black in a North American society. I was going to talk about what it's like in predominantly white spaces when you look different, or you have to try your best to present yourself a certain way, or whatever the case may be. But then I realized that I was putting myself back into that box, into that limitation, like it's February, we have to talk about Black History Month, or nobody will listen, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, that's not the case. And I'm always Black, as we know. I can talk about being Black whenever. It's not limited to February, and I kind of had to come to terms with that. So, of course, after scrapping that idea for now, I had to figure out what the second episode would be about. Which is really funny because I knew I wanted to talk about Valentine's Day or something related to love or self-love. And I couldn't get a concrete line up of what I wanted to talk about. And then before Rito closed, shout out to them truckers. I'm sorry, that's not funny. Before Rito closed, I went to the store and I got this. No, they were having like a sale, and I got this necklace and a bracelet, and the girl told me that they have 50% off on like this rack. So I went over to the rack and I saw this dog tag, and I was like, this is such a cute dog tag, I'll get it. So I get it, and then I turn it over, and it said reconnect on the back of it. And I didn't realize before, because, I was rushing to work before, I had to rush to work after I went to the jewelry store. So when I did look at it and it said reconnect, I was kind of like taken aback in a way, because that was kind of what I had been struggling with, like reconnecting with myself and finding the parts of me that are truly me, and not just the parts that society has told me that I have to be. So, for this episode, I want to talk about reconnecting with yourself. So, as we know, Valentine's Day just passed. And every single year, I see the same fucking thing. Like, as soon as New Year's passes, like January 2nd, everybody gets not everybody, but a lot of people, especially social media, it's like flooded with Valentine's Day things. People are like, oh, I have to find me a Valentine. I want a hotel room with rose petals, or that's not like, or I'm gonna die, blah, blah, blah. Like, I have to find a date, or like my life can't go on. And that has always been so strange to me, because like, it's great that there's a day dedicated to love, but Valentine's Day is such like a commercialized holiday. And I'm not saying that I hate love at all. Like, I literally love love. Like, you ask anybody that knows me, I love love. I love love songs. I love movies. I literally have been writing poetry about love since I was like 6. So I love love. I love the idea of love. I love the idea of being in love. Like it's great. But the way that society kind of pushes Valentine's Day, it's like, if you don't have love on this specific day of the year, you're a horrible person and you're never going to find love. And that's so stupid and also not true. And on the flip side, the girls that are getting the roses, like, roses don't equal happiness. Because I know people, or I use friends very lightly. Acquaintances. I've been acquaintances with the boyfriends of the girls that get the rose petals in the hotel rooms, and the girls that get the trips, and the girls that get everything, and the boyfriends still cheat. They treat them like shit for the rest of the year, but on this one day of the year, they believe that, this is enough. Like, if I do this, then I'm a good boyfriend, pat on the back. And that has always been one thing that irritates me, because why are the girls that are getting treated horribly by these guys, are always these beautiful, wonderful, amazing people that let guys treat them like shit. They let them treat them like shit because they would rather that than to be alone. And that is one of the things that really, like, stuck out to me. That people would rather be treated like shit than to be alone. And that's kind of where where my thoughts for this episode kind of started from. Is I started thinking about being alone and what being alone really looks like. And my first thought was COVID. Before COVID, I found myself in spaces that I didn't belong, around people that I didn't belong, because I didn't want to be alone. Not alone in the sense that, like romantic love, like alone, like I physically did not want to be alone, because my personal life was so chaotic, and I knew that if I was alone for an extended amount of time, then I would break the fuck down. Like, I would be crying, I'd be in tears. I felt like I was literally going insane, and I just didn't feel like I was equipped to be alone in those moments. And then COVID hit, and we all had to be alone. I was forced to be in my room for months on end with no contact with, my friends, or obviously I saw my family, but like no contact with really like the outside world. And I had to sit in that pain. I had to think about why it was so hard for me to be alone. And I realized it was because I was hiding from myself. I couldn't face the facts of what had happened. And I know I'm being very vague, but I had to find myself and find my own footing, because just distracting myself wasn't going to change the fact that I was alone, like being around 1,000 people, I still had to come home and be alone. I still had to come home and be in that space of I kind of feel shitty. And with this specific situation that I was kind of dealing with at the beginning of COVID, it goes back to the not wanting to find out the parts of yourself that you're hiding from. It's like, I know XYZ about myself, but the rest of the alphabet is a mystery to me, and I don't necessarily want to know because it makes me complicated. And then you have to figure out how to forgive yourself, how to heal. I was struggling with how to forgive myself and how to heal. Because in this specific situation, I was dealing with somebody that hurt me so fucking deeply, like physically, mentally, emotionally, like killed my spirit, like broke it in half. And I didn't love myself enough to know that I shouldn't be around that person. I thought that in order for me to love them, I had to find the humanity in them, because nobody would do something that horrible to somebody and continuously do shitty things to someone just because they were a shitty person. Like, I couldn't believe, and I still don't believe, that anyone is a shitty person, and like shitty activities and shitty actions come from, a place of hurt and possibly abandonment, but that isn't my responsibility. And that's what I had to understand. And I let that situation go on for way too fucking long. And I allowed this person and other people to take advantage of my kindness, because that kindness couldn't be shown inward. And the first thing I realized is, or I saw this on Pinterest. Yes, I'm a Pinterest nerd. Anyway, I saw this thing on Pinterest that it said empathy without boundaries it was like, empathy without boundaries is killing yourself, or something like that. And it's so true. I was very much, not obviously, but like I grew up in the church, and I used to live by like, if you hit me on one cheek, turn the other cheek. And it was very much like people were pushing me down, and I was like, I have to love you through this. But me pushing and giving all of myself wasn't fair to me. And when you are like that, people take so much fucking advantage of you. Like, people literally will pull you out of a fucking crowd, and they will pick you because they know that they can get away with the abuse because of the heart. People, like narcissistic people, can see that shit from a mile a fucking way. And this guy is very much a narcissist. And I kind of had to rewire my brain in a sense to understand that my feelings are so valid. And if I don't feel like I'm loved in any situation, then I need to get out. So during COVID, I had kind of what I call a hermit mode. Like, there's a tarot card, and it's like the hermit, and it means like, being by yourself, following your inner light, following your intuition kind of thing. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I felt like being alone was one of the scariest fucking things I had to do. But then the end of COVID came around, or not the end of COVID, but like restrictions were lifted, lockdown was lifted, and we were able to be around people again. And at the time, I was dating my ex-partner, and we were always together. I didn't really, like, I would rather go to his house and hang out with him than be home alone. And then recently, another one of those hermit modes came up, and this one is real. This one is real heavy. I really had to look at myself and figure out what I needed to do to expand into myself, what I had to do to know myself, because I realized that I didn't really know myself at all. And that's kind of scary to say out loud, and it's kind of weird to say out loud, because I felt like I was being defined by the way society was defining me. I was the girl that did her makeup all the time and had cool eyeshadow looks and had a cool outfits. So that's who I was. And I felt like in the worst parts of my pain, I tried my absolute fucking best to present myself as that, because that's who I was. And if I presented myself the way that people thought I should be presenting myself, or people were used to me presenting myself, then they wouldn't ask if something was wrong. They wouldn't inquire about my pain, and I wouldn't have to share my pain. So I did that. And then at the end of last year, I don't know what happened. Something hit me over the head really fucking hard, and I just stopped. I decided that doing makeup shouldn't feel like a chore. Like, I shouldn't feel like, okay, I have to look this way or I won't feel like myself. And feeling like yourself shouldn't be equivalent to the outer parts of you. And then I started to change. And that change, now I'm grateful. But in the moment, and it's still happening, by the way, but in the moment, it fucking kills. It hurts so fucking much. It feels like somebody is pulling out your heart, just constantly pulling and tugging at your heart, and you can't do anything about it. Like, the pain is still there until you acknowledge it, and you have to sit with the pain. That's what I learned. You have to sit with the pain and you have to feel it. And I would smoke, not cigarettes. I would smoke weed. And I thought it helped. I thought it was helping me because when I was high, I was so happy. But it's literally giving me artificial happiness. Like, when I was home and I was in that space alone, again, breakdown, horrible, magnified, like 10 times the normal sober breakdown, like crying, screaming, begging for something to change. But then I realized that I kind of had to change, and I had to reevaluate the way that I was viewing life. And I found myself questioning a lot. Why me? Why did this shit have to happen to me? Because I kept hearing people that have trauma, they always, or if you're a part of the spiritual community, because my mom's best friend is a pastor. So my mom would tell her, like, talk to Adriana. And then she would talk to me, and she's a social worker, so she doesn't only approach things from the Christian point of view, but there's always a Christian point of view deep down in it. And she was telling me how, like, everything happens for a reason. And if you get out of this, she's like, if you get out of this, then you will be such a good asset to the world. And that made me so fucking pissed. Like, how dare you look at me in my pain and tell me that this pain, if you get through it, if you can figure out, and they're not giving you the tools to figure it out. They're telling you, like, you got this, like, go ahead and do it. But I was so clouded by my hurt, and I was so engulfed within my pain that I thought that she was being rude. And I just couldn't bring myself to understand it until I started sitting with my pain, and until I started looking and reflecting and understanding. Like, I've had to intellectualize my pain so much. I literally had to disconnect, because when all of this trauma was happening to me, I was disassociated constantly. Like, I remember I would be going to work, la 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 la. At the time, I worked at a place that was kind of far from my house, and I would bus to work, and to walk from the bus stop to the place that I worked, I had to walk on the side of a highway, and I was so numb, like, to the point where I would remember being on the bus, and then I don't remember walking, but I have texts in my phone where I was texting people while walking, me like, I could just walk into the street. Sorry if that was triggering for anyone, but that's really how I felt. I just couldn't do it. And then I remember, like, looking back at these texts and being like, what the fuck? I don't remember texting this. But I would get off the bus, and then I would be at work. Or I would finish work, and that's the last thing I remember. And then I remember waking up the next morning. Like, it's my body's way. It's your body's way of protecting you from feeling this pain. But it's so disheartening to feel like my body has to force me to forget these things in order for me to cope. And this person, obviously, I'm not blaming this person for all of the trauma that I'm going through, but with him, I was like, he's fine. He's fucking fine. But on the flip side, he wasn't fine. He was definitely dealing with a lot of fucking shit. And even though he is a narcissist, and even though he did shit to me, hurt me in ways I feel like I will always be hurt in, I had to find gratitude in the situation. I had to learn to listen to my intuition. Like I said, I had to intellectualize my pain. I had to sit in this moment and be like, this person did this shitty thing to me. How do I learn from it? And I'll use an example. Okay, so with this guy, he has done multiple things to me, but I remember one time he invited me over to his house, and I asked him if my best friend could come, because I knew where his mind was at, and I knew within myself that I didn't know how to say no for myself. And that's kind of this reconnect. Like, you have to reclaim the space to be like, no, I don't fucking want this. And even if you want it, I don't fucking want it. And, yeah, he would tell me that I was a liar. And that fucking triggered me because my mother would always tell me that I was lying, even when I wasn't. And up until today, I am so triggered when people call me a liar to the point where I have to be able to prove, like, if a situation happens, like, let's say, because sometimes I feel like crazy shit happens to me in my life. I feel like I have to have some kind of proof, because if that person calls me a liar, I have to be able to back myself up immediately. And when he would call me a liar, and basically, long story short, he would say all the shitty things to me and basically tell me that he was in love with me and that he knew that. Keep in mind, I had a partner. I was dating my ex. Like, he would tell me how I knew that things between us were different, and I had to realize that that was a trauma bond. It was a trauma bond, and I couldn't let go of him because he had seen me at my fucking lowest. He had been my fucking lowest, and I felt like I was punishing myself. I felt like punishing myself was the only way for me to relate to him. But then I realized that that's bullshit. That I can't fix him, and I can't bring myself down to his level and expect him to come up to mine if we're at the same level. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And back to what I was saying, a little bit of a sidetrack, but back to what I was saying. I was stuck in this, why me? I was stuck in this, oh my God, why is this shit fucking happening to me kind of mindset until I changed the way I look at things. And I remember once I was texting someone and I was saying how, like, you know, when you change your perspective, things change with you. Like, I was so in my ego and in my hurt that I couldn't see that the universe had been teaching me the same fucking lessons over and over and over. And I wasn't listening. It had to be something hard hitting and something that I would remember for the rest of my fucking life for me to know that that lesson is stuck in my brain. And I had to be honest with myself. And coming back to love, I also had to be honest with myself, with my partner, my ex-partner. I wouldn't even consider, not partner, boyfriend. Let's say boyfriend. It feels weird calling him my partner, but boyfriend, because partnership, whole other thing than being a boyfriend or girlfriend. And I feel like he and I were very much in that, or he was very much in that space of, if I am your boyfriend, I should know everything about you. You should tell me everything. You should only hang out with me, kind of thing. And that's not what a partner is. I don't believe. A partner is more about growing side by side and opening up your heart and understanding that learning and loving are such important parts of living. And you don't own your partner doesn't own you. You guys are healing and growing alongside each other, and that's the important part of it. But another sidetrack, I had to be honest with myself. And I feel like this goes back to the Valentine's Day thing. These girls or people that are obsessed with the roses, they're not being honest with themselves. Because if you're lonely for the rest of the year, or how does how does a hotel room, how do a few fake words or gestures fix that pain? Like, if you're lonely, a relationship will not fix you. If you're broken, a relationship will not fix you. If you can't give love to yourself, that love cannot be given to you by another person. Because you have to have enough in your little well of love to be able to push out enough love to that other person and have enough for yourself without feeling a deficit within yourself. Balance, equal give and take in all relationships. And I realized that I had to start showing up for myself. And in my hermit mode, I realized that I had to do things for myself that I felt like I had to depend on other people for. And I always say I am the only one that can do things the right way, but I always rely on other people because I feel like I get energy from being around people that I love. Like, I enjoy conversations and I enjoy being able to grab knowledge from other people. But the people I was surrounding myself with, they weren't doing that to me. They were sucking all the energy out of me, and I wasn't getting anything in return. I wasn't getting any of the knowledge that I sought. I wasn't getting any of the enlightenment that I was seeking from the conversations and the interactions that I was having. So I realized, I was like, social media, I am going to delete all the people that have either hurt me, hurt someone I care about, or they just have a bad vibe. Vibe is a weird thing, but like, if someone has done something shitty to somebody that they claim they care about, or someone that I care about, then you and I can't be around each other, because it's only a matter of time until you do that to me. It's only a matter of time until you make me into another one of your little guinea pigs, and I can't put myself in spaces to feel pain and then be like, oh my God, this person hurt me. Like, protective measures. You have to protect yourself. You have to fucking protect yourself and be so careful of who you're sharing your energies with. Be so fucking careful. Some people are energy vampires. Some people suck the life out of you. They will pull and pull and pull and pull and pull and pull and pull. They don't care. All they want is to know that there's somebody that will go to the ends of the fucking earth for them. And then when you're done and you go home, you're so drained and you're so over it, because this person has taken every single ounce of life out of you. And that's also one of the reasons why, apart from the socials, because I felt like people were watching me and they didn't have the best intentions, I felt like there were people that didn't need to be a part of my journey that were watching me. And I was trying to be intentional about the people that I was sharing my space with. Space being online and in person. And that's also why now I'm very cautious about partying. I'm cautious about big groups. I'm cautious about being around people that I don't necessarily know that well. Not because, oh, I'm a homebody. It's more about, like, I I don't want to be in that space with the energy vampires. I don't want to extend my energy into an environment because I've never really liked partying. I don't want to put myself into an environment where I know that like my energy is already going to be shitty and I'm going to leave feeling sad. And in parties, it's just like, especially house parties, obviously haven't been to a house party in a hot minute. Don't really plan to go to anymore. But it's hot, it's sticky, people are drunk, people are high, there are guys like whispering and yelling in your ear and touching you, and it's disgusting. Oh my god. I want to be in the light. I love the sunlight. Like literally my favorite colors are yellow and green. I like the earth. I don't want to be in a fucking stuffy ass room with people I don't like and people I don't know and men trying to fuck me. Sorry. That's a little bit raunchy, but it's true. Like that's their goal. Like I'm realizing now, like my first instinct was, like give everyone the benefit of the doubt. That's not the goal, but I now see how these parties are orchestrated with the single goal in mind that someone is going to get laid. And the guys are normally the ones that are, if the guys are hosting, they're pumping drinks down your throat. They are giving you all the weed that they have because they want to get you inebriated enough so that you'll go along with it. And I can't be in spaces like that because that's fucking disgusting, first of all. Also, it isn't in me. I can't, if someone chooses and someone doesn't see things like that, that's okay. But I've been hurt at a party before. And I don't want to be in that space. And if I'm going out and I say, oh, I'm going to go have fun, I don't want to be in the space where I have to worry about my well-being. Like I want to be around people that I feel safe with. And house parties, obviously, you don't know who's going to be there. You don't know whose friend of a friend of a friend of a friend is going to be there. You don't know what the fuck these niggas are thinking. These men are thinking. Yeah. So that's all that I wanted to say for this episode. Thank you for listening. I would adore if I could get feedback on this episode also, as I try to transform it into the vision of what I want it to be while going along on the journey. So thank you for listening. I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you are staying hydrated. I hope you are doing something for yourself today. You're loving on yourself extra hard today. I love you. Be patient with yourself. Goodbye.